All right, ladies and gentlemen, those vocabulary words should look very familiar to you. For domain, you should basically have 3 different parts to your definition of domain. Anybody feel like sharing? What you got, Savannah? How we doing, folks? Does that all ring a bell to you? I hope so. Been about 2 days we've been writing that, right? You should then be able to fill in range as well. Go ahead, Braden. Good. Okay. Can anybody recall for me what a relation is? What's a relation? Luke? Perfect. Folks, what are ordered pairs? Coordinates. An X and a Y. Points. Everybody doing all right? Okay, now yesterday we gave one definition of a function. What was it, Savannah? It's a special relation where every X has exactly one Y. And that's what your homework was over last night. You were looking at the X's to see if they repeated. If they did, it was not a function. Okay, you also checked the vertical line test by using your pencil last night. If it passed the vertical line test, then it was a function. Okay, today we're going to go a little bit further into functions. Now, this is going to look really silly to you when I put it up here. You're going to have no idea what it means, but I promise I'll explain it to you. Are you ready? Okay, function notation. Folks, what letter does the word function start with? F. So if I'm going to use what's called function notation, it looks like this. This is read f of x. That's how you read that. F of x. Folks, this is always going to be on the left side of the equal sign. Everybody knows their left from their right, yes? It's always going to be on the left side. And I'm going to tell you, this is just the name of the function. So this function is f. If Dalton had a function, it would be d of x. If Braden had a function, it would be b of x. It's just the name. Is everybody clear there? Yes? The other side is the good stuff, okay? That's where the rest of the equation is. So let's say we put a 3x minus 1 over there. So that is function notation. You read this, f of x is 3x minus 1. Now, it's very similar to equation notation. If it's just a regular old equation, it's going to look like this, folks. Do you see the difference between function notation and equation notation? Yes? Yes? Are you sure? This part right here is the only difference. Do you all see that? Okay, so do you notice how the f of x and the y are basically in the same spot? Okay, I need you to make a note that f of x is the same as y. F of x is the same as y, which means f of x is your range, because folks, you all know that the y's are the ranges, correct? So the f of x is the range. What's the domain? Folks, what's the domain? X. That's what it has been, right? Domain is a set of all x's. Didn't you just write that about 2 minutes ago up on your sheet? Okay. So we're going to use this to calculate some problems. And I want you to stay with me here. I'm going to do all 4 of them, and then we're going to actually use your calculator and calculate it. Are you ready? Okay. Take a look up here for me. How do you read this, folks? F of x. So the name of this thing is F, correct? Notice that in letter A, this says F of 2, doesn't it? Folks, what spot is that 2 in? That's where the X is supposed to be, right? So that X has now changed to be a 2. Because it was F of X, now that says F of 2. Is everybody following me? Not yet. Now, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap out the X for the 2. So in this portion right here, the good stuff, I'm going to take out the X and I'm going to put in the 2. Are you ready? Yes? The -4 stays. That X is now becoming a 2, and then I have a +7. Do you see how I just made a little bit of a substitution there? Yes or no? Because this 2 right here is in the spot where that X is. So that means I'm going to take out the X and I'm going to put in the 2. Everybody okay? We're not going to calculate it yet. I want to keep going. How would you read letter B? F of -3. Well, that -3 is where the X is, correct? So that means the X is -3, which means I'm going to take out the X and I'm going to put in the -3. How'd we do, folks? Do you see what's happening here? We're just swapping them out. Yes, Savannah. Oh, a -4. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Yep. Everybody have their -4 out front there? Okay, let's try another one. How would you read this? F of 0 -8. So this 0 is where the X is supposed to be, yes? So the X is now going to turn into a 0. What will that look like if I turn the X into a 0? Tell me what to write here, folks. Times, then, how's everybody doing there? That takes care of F of 0, but do you see the -8 on the end? Yeah, so that -8 has to go on the end because we're also going to put that on there. All right, one more over here. What's in the X spot this time? 5. So the X is going to turn into a 5. What will that look like, folks? Okay, how we doing? Yes, no, maybe? Does everybody see the -4 that's out front of that problem? What's happening between the -4 and the F? It's being multiplied. Doesn't that mean when they're side by side, isn't that multiplication? So whatever I get from here, I have to take this and multiply it by -4 when I'm all done. I'm using brackets here because I've already used parentheses. If you look at every single one of these problems, you should see the pattern. I take out the X, I put in whatever number they tell me to. Doing all right? Okay, now let's grab those calculators and actually calculate these. Say it again. Does somebody have letter A here for me? Pick up your calculators. -4 times 2 plus 7. -1. How do we feel about that -1 there, okay? All right. Grab your calculator again. How about letter B? 19. Everybody's okay with the 19? Letter C, don't forget to put that -8 on the end of it. I got one person telling me -1. -1. Okay, now for this one, notice I put this multiplication in a different color, right? Do everything on the inside, and then when you're done, multiply it by -4. So after you hit the equal sign, multiply it, and what do you get? 52. Can anybody check his answer for me? 52, 52, 52. So what do you think, folks? Can we do this? Can we make that substitution? Yeah? All right, let's try the next one. Does anybody have any calculator issues at all? Okay. What is the name of this function? It is g of x. So now it's George or whatever name you want to give it. It's g of x. Okay. Letter A says g of 1. What do we know about that 1? That's the x. It's right where the x is supposed to be, right there. So I'm going to take out the x and I'm going to put in 1 and I'm going to do it on the right side of the equation. Now, folks, do you see how that x is being squared? Do you see how the x is being squared? Okay, that needs to go in parentheses. If you don't, you will almost half of the time get it wrong. Does everybody see that? Yeah? Okay. Letter B. What's the x this time? This time the x is -3. So I'm going to take out the x. I'm going to put in the -3. And then, what else do I need to put on this? The -2 needs to go on the end as well. Please don't be nervous about letter C. This is actually the easiest one up there. Because what is x this time? X is what? B. So I'm going to take out the x, and I'm going to put in the b. Do I know what b is? No. So it's just b squared minus 4. I don't know what b is. It's like a swapping it out. Sub 1. One goes out, the other one goes in. Finally, letter D. What's the x in letter D? The x is 5. Does everybody see that? What's in parentheses there? So when you put this in, it's going to be 5 squared, then minus 4. Now, folks, you all see the negative on the outside? What does that mean? This whole thing needs to be multiplied by -1. Kind of like that last one we did. All right, calculator time. Make sure you put it in parentheses. Bless you. So, what's letter A? -3 sounds good. Next one's +3. You guys agree with +3? Okay. Now, can I put this b squared and the -4 together? No, you can't. They're not like terms. You're just going to leave it like it is. Told you that was the easiest one up there, right? How we doing? Doing okay? Now, do the green portion first in letter D. Well, first it's +21, isn't it? And then you multiply it by the -1 that's on the outside, and you get -21. Okay, so some of you guys are doing great. You're punching in your calculators and you're doing great. Others of you are just writing down the answers. Please actively participate, please. Can we move on? What's the next function called? H of y. So this time it's the h function. I don't know, maybe it's Holly or Henry. I don't know. It's just the name. The y is now the variable. There's no x's this time. It's y. So what do I know in letter A? The y is A. So if the y is A, what will that look like if I substitute that in there? Trevor's got it. How we doing, folks? Is that okay? Are you sure? Am I going to be able to combine these or simplify it? Can I make this 13a? No, leave it the way it is. Letter B. What do I know about that -2? That's the y. So what will it look like when you plug it in? Wonderful. And what do you get? -5. Okay. What do I know in letter C? The y is -4. What will that look like? And then when I'm done with that, what do I have to do with it? Does everybody see the 2 out front? Do you see how the 2 is side by side? That means multiplication. Can you tell me what you just get on the inside first, Gage? Negative 17, and then you multiply it by 2. You guys agree with Gage here? Everybody's all right? All right. So now this one looks a little bit different. What do I know in letter D? The y is q plus 1. So I'm going to take out the q plus 1. I'm going to take out the y, and I'm going to put in q plus 1. What will that look like? How's that looking for everybody? I can do a little bit of it. Well, I can do distributing here, can't I? And then, aren't these like terms over here? Which is? So that would be my answer. So I can simplify it a little bit, but I can't work it down to just a number. Okay, so you got to have some work there. Otherwise, how are you going to know how you got that? You have no idea. You will have the video. How we doing in this row? Because it's about to get a little bit harder. But we're okay? What's the next function called? J of D. Okay, this first one says J of 4. What do I know about that 4? The D is 4. So plug it in. What will it look like? Oh, no, 2. Start with this 2 here. Does everybody see that? How I took out the D and put in that? Now, does everybody know how to do the third power in their calculator? If you don't, you have to use this little caret key. Everybody has one. Quentin, do you know how to work yours? Because yours is different. Is that a yes or a no? Okay, so I believe you have a y to the x, Quentin. Do you have that button somewhere? Yes? So when you do yours, Quentin, you're going to do 2 times 4. Then you're going to hit the y to the x, and you're going to hit the 3. Everybody else, you're going to say 2 parentheses, 4 parentheses, hit that caret button, and then hit your 3. Gage says 128. Dalton says yes. Cody says yes. Did you get 128, Quentin, or no? Did you get 128? Did it work or not? Okay. All right, let's move on to letter B, folks. What do I know about the negative 5? It's the D. So what will my new equation look like? Wonderful. Go ahead. Calculate it. Did you find your exponent button okay? Yeah. Okay. What you got, Savannah? Negative 250? Sounds good. Oh boy. We got a lot going on here, right? Okay, first of all, what do I know that D is? No, what's D? Yes, D is whatever's in parentheses. So the D is T. Everybody all right there? Okay, so what will that look like if I plug in T? Now, I don't need to use the parentheses because I don't know what it is yet. Is everybody okay with that? Now, what's happening with the 3 out front? It's being multiplied. And then I'm adding 2. Does everybody see where that comes from? Okay, so am I allowed to multiply these things? Yes, you can multiply anything you want together, folks. Anything. They don't have to be like terms. What do I get here? We only multiply the coefficients. You only multiply the numbers that are out front. And then we have this plus 2. Can I put them together and make it 8t to the third? No, you cannot put those together. It's going to stay just like that. Okay. Now, in letter D, we have 3 things happening here. You have to do j of negative 3 first. Then you have to do j of negative 1. Then when you're done with them, we're going to subtract them. Does everybody see that subtraction sign in between there? So we're going to take these 2 problems, find their answers, then we're going to subtract them. In the first portion of this problem, I know that the D is what? What will that look like? Okay, and what do you get? Negative 54. Is everybody all right with that number? Okay. What do I know in the second part of this problem? What is D in the second part of this problem? What will that look like? Okay, to the third power or cubed. And what do you get there? Negative 2, she says. How's everybody doing? Now, what am I supposed to do with those 2 numbers? In your calculator, please carefully subtract them. Negative 54 minus a negative 2. And it should be negative 52. Anybody have any issues getting those negative symbols in and making that spit out a negative 52? Are you all right, Luke, or no? What part? Because minus a minus is a plus. So this is really negative 54 plus 2, which gives you this. Is that okay? There's 2 ways you can do it. You can subtract a negative. When in doubt there, Luke, just type it in your calculator and it should spit out the right answer, okay? All right, I have one more line left, don't I? Okay, here we go. First up, it says h of negative 4. So what do I know about that negative 4? The t is negative 4. Does everybody see how there's t's in this problem now? Okay, so if I'm going to plug it in, what will that look like? Now remember, this is just the name. There we go. Keep going. Times. And then notice I put those all in parentheses as I went there. So everybody here can use parentheses. Quentin, when you hold on. Quentin, when you do yours, you got to do this portion first, then that part, and then put them all together. Somebody second him. Does somebody else check it out? He says negative 526. Not yet. Okay. I'm going to skip letter B. We're not going to do letter B at all. We're going to go to letter C. What's going on in letter C? T is now X. So what will that look like if I put in an X? How we doing? Do I need to use parentheses here? I don't know what X is, so I don't need to use parentheses. But what's on the outside of this? I have to multiply it by 3. So what should I probably do with that 3? We just don't know what X is yet. So you can't actually get a regular old number. I don't know what to plug in yet. I'm going to distribute this, yes. What do you get when you distribute here? Come on, guys, let's multiply. Those are x squareds, right? Keep going. Say it again. 204. Can I put the x squareds and the x's together? I cannot. They are not like terms. And we are not going to do letter D. No. Your homework. There you go. Homework for tonight. It's all about functions.